And we have the infamous Josh Rabideau, famous for asking hot button questions and yet avoiding physical aggression.
Hello, and welcome to Election Debate 2018. We are here today at Upper Tupper Town Hall to hear our teacher candidates answer the foremost questions on our minds. First question, could you describe your personal pedagogical philosophy?
Well, Josh, I view my classroom as a community built on a foundation of curiosity. I solidly believe in the works of Jean Piaget and continually incorporate opportunities for self-directed exploration and discovery. I want my students to walk in feeling like there is something for them to discover that day, and supported in that by me and their classmates. We are a community that supports each other, that asks questions together, and is interested in what those answers are going to be. You know, if little Jimmy asks a question, little Katie is interested in finding the answer also. And it can't be all about me talking all the time. It's like a family a little bit, you know? Sometimes you're going to have your own discoveries, and those come from interacting with the world around you. It can't all be lecture, it has to be an interactive experience.
Ashley?
Thank you, Josh. I agree with you, Jen, on the classroom is a community. That's as far as it goes. I believe social interaction and group work is the key to my students learning. They need to learn from actually doing and bouncing ideas off of each other. And this ties in with the zone of proximal development, where not only their peers, but I can, through encouragement, have my students gain the knowledge that they need to continue on with their learning. And through social interaction, I will also provide one of my biggest foundations, which is linguistic expression, which focuses on, especially in the younger ages, the inner thought and external thoughts on when students actually learn their thought process through speaking.
So building on that, what exactly would a successful class period look like in your classroom?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that interaction is actually, you know, kids talking to each other socially. But anyways, I would have to begin by explaining that my goal is to expand upon schemas that my students enter our classroom with. I would then have to add that I view learning as a continual process of interactive exploration. So, for example, Jean Piaget talks about assimilation. So, let's say we're talking about a topic that students already know quite a bit about, and that's okay. They're going to come in with some of that knowledge. It's kind of like walking into your bedroom and exploring that. You've been in your bedroom however many times. It's comfortable, you like it, you know a lot about it, you're not really being challenged to find things or locate things or build on that knowledge. So what I'm aiming to do is push students into a disequilibrium, which is maybe a little bit uncomfortable because they don't really have a strong basis of knowledge on the subject. You have a slight basis and you're going to build that out. And then they start to accommodate that. We call that accommodation. You know, they start to make room for that extra knowledge. And so let me think of a specific lesson plan that would work really well. I really love to have students working with their hands, for instance. I like, you know, a little bit of action going on, you know, it kind of wakes everybody up, keeps everybody interested. So let's say we had just read a chapter in a book, or a novel. I want to specify a novel. Okay, so we want to make connections between what has happened in that chapter with our own knowledge, but then also expand on that. So what I would do is we would all kind of come into a horseshoe shape in the room. It's very good to be able to make eye contact with each other, you know, and be in on the learning together. And then I have a ball of yarn. And so I'm going to have this ball of yarn, and I'm going to make a statement about something in that chapter. You know, our main character made me feel this when this happened. And then I'm going to toss that ball of yarn to somebody across the U. And they're going to say something else, and in between we put a little piece of paper. Look at that connection that just happened. Oh, they took what I said. They made their own assertion about it. They're connecting with each other. We're being active in it, and we're pushing our knowledge. We're pushing our own opinions a little bit so that we can start to see a bigger picture. So I really feel like every lesson plan should incorporate those kind of values as much as possible.
Well, I can see some merit to my opponent's ideas. I don't believe it incorporates enough of the social aspect. Thought and language are very closely linked with language largely preceding thought. As students discuss topics, they come to think about them from different perspectives. This could be incorporated in reading groups, where I would have a guided reading lesson focusing on the whole class working on their reading skills, and then offer critical thinking questions. Those questions would cause them to think more closely about the readings. Then they would break off into smaller groups, working with maybe 2 to 4 people in a group, where they can bounce their ideas off, and because there'll be different levels of learning and knowledge about it, they'll be able to help each other.
Now let's turn that question. How would you describe an unsuccessful class period, Ashley?
Quite simply, one in which students were not interacting with one another. Too often we see students sitting quietly listening to lectures lasting upwards of 30 minutes. Some lecture will be necessary for guidance purposes, but there should still be time for questions and interaction. There is no way to effectively reach the ZPD without those components.
And Jen?
I have to agree with my opponent's attention to interaction. You know I love interaction. I've said it quite a lot so far. My favorite word of the day. However, I believe that interaction doesn't have to always be social. We are interacting with our environment also, you know? And yes, people are part of our environment. And yes, they're important aspects of it. But I also have to say I don't entirely agree with language preceding thought. You know, we have thoughts, we voice them. Sure, there's some relationship there. If it's, you know, the center of everything, I don't really know what you got going on there. But let's just say that despite my disagreements with certain details to what she said there, I would also agree that the worst thing to walk in on is a group of kids sitting there listening and listening and listening and listening, and, you know, they get bored. There needs to be some kind of movement. You know, some kind of talking back, some kind of questioning. You know, lecturing while students sit idle for long stretches of time, I feel like serves absolutely no purpose.
Considering the strong case you both make for interaction in the classroom, how do you feel about cross-curriculum planning and collaborative work with other teachers? Ashley?
Unlike my opponent, I don't give much credence to set developmental stages. This means that the continuum of expanding our cognitive thought applies to educators as well. Interacting with my peers can only make me a better teacher, and I would welcome any opportunity to do so. Admittedly, not everybody is cut out to work in the same classroom together, but even conversing on topics we don't agree on would help me more clearly see my views through another lens.
Jen?
Good answer. Again, I feel like there's a little misrepresentation. Well, I do believe in developmental stages, that certain things are happening with kids at certain ages. I don't believe that learning ends when adulthood begins. My primary focus is on that stretch of time. We are preparing kids to go into adulthood, of course, but that doesn't mean that my interest just stops at the end of the year that they're in their classroom for. I feel like I'm being a little combative. I apologize. I would also like to say that I would welcome any opportunity to collaborate, work on some cross-curriculum goals with another teacher. I feel also that it really can only enrich the lesson planning. You're building on those schemas. You are expanding them. So say I'm teaching an English class, and that's my focus. I'm looking at where those kids are coming from within that focus. But if I'm working with a history teacher, I might be able to draw some other things in there and expand those schemas. So they're thinking about vocabulary not just within the novel that we're reading, they're thinking about it from a historical perspective also. And a teacher with a different focus can only help me to do that.
Now this is a hot topic in current education-based debates. Should students be taught more practical things versus academia? Jen?
I believe the two go hand in hand, okay? Especially with the theories that I prescribe to. We have to draw in practical elements of the world and relate them to academic topics. Like I said, kids, the interaction, word of the day, the interaction with the world around them helps them to expand their perspectives, helps them to not only learn just, topics and subject matter. We're talking about grand concepts here. We're talking about, concepts of honesty and justice and things that really form a profound umbrella over their lives. And this isn't to say that I would have to take a close look at what that would be in my classroom. I'm not sure which aspects specifically, aside from their day-to-day routines and what's affecting them, maybe some topics on technology or something like that. I could definitely see drawing in more practical issues than what I have in the past. But like I said, I really feel like I hearken back to it regularly within every lesson. I always try to have some aspect of it related, rooted in what their experiences are in the world, which are practical.
The world my students have lived in affects how they view new information experiencing. Following Lev Vygotsky's theory, this directly relates to his beliefs on learning being social cultural. To be effective, I need to address both. To more clearly answer, I can see that more practical issues could be built into the curriculum, but in the absence of that, I will take it upon myself nonetheless.
We will now begin taking some questions from our audience.
Hi, my name is Isabella Parrow-Davies. I'm from Port Kent, New York, and my question is, do you think games are valuable while trying to teach a lesson?
I feel that they can be an effective teaching tool because they involve peers and your keyword of the day, interaction.
I love that you've been paying attention, Might even speak to my qualities as a teacher. All right, so yeah, I really like games in that they have an ability to force a different perspective on the same information. Doing a crossword even. There's lots of words I didn't think of from the perspectives they offer, and that expands on my understanding of that word. I'd like to give a little anecdotal story here.
My second question is, do you think it's important to be involved in students' lives outside of school?
I'll take that one. I do believe it's important to get involved with students' lives outside of school. It directly relates with the social cultural aspect that I'm going to be including in my lessons. Knowing what the students' lives are like at home, in their communities, is extremely important to knowing what I can be doing to better teach them.
I agree with all of that. I would definitely like to get involved with kids outside of school. I feel like my reasons definitely are different than yours, just like pretty much every other thing that we've come across so far. But I don't disagree with you entirely. So things like clubs and sports, they are so enrich their day, they enrich their world, and they enrich their capacity for learning. I need to know where my kids are to be able to push them to that proper stage of disequilibrium. I'm not trying to make their day harder than it needs to be. So interacting with them in other ways outside of school will help me to do that, first of all, which I guess is a little bit similar than your ZPD business.
Hi, my name is Annika. I was wondering if you would have free time in your class.
I am a big fan of having some exploration stations set up. I mean, you have to go age appropriate here. I definitely feel like you have to take a look at what developmental stage your classroom is in before setting these up. But for example, I really find that with adolescents, music is a big connection to their lives. You know, it really, they can connect with it, they can connect it to their lives. And so what I like to set up is a music station where they can sample different clips of, you know, school appropriate music and make connections to other samples of either readings or art or something that are on that station also. So they are really actively participating in that station, but it's things that they're going to enjoy. You know, it's posters and music and you know, maybe pop culture kind of things that give them the ability to reflect, but are fun. And you know, yeah, it's free time, but it's fun time too.
Ashley?
I agree. Free time is also a fun time. During that time, the kids in my class will be working with their friends if they choose so on projects, or just playing with games and stuff that we have in the classroom for them. Either way, they are still learning because my whole philosophy that I'm following is they learn from their peers. So by allowing that free time where they can interact with each other, keyword of the day, they can help each other grow in their knowledge.
I can't tell if you're making fun of me or not, but we're just gonna roll with it.